Let's Webit begin. It's about time for the content streams. It's about what we're all here for. At this stage, we're going to be talking about digital marketing and innovation. We have some amazing streams today, like social footprint. We have others which are connected to advertising and effectiveness. In the other rooms out there, we have a telco summit. We have today we have metrics and big data conference. Tomorrow is the e-commerce conference. And we have leaders of the future, which is about entrepreneurship and great ideas coming to reality. We also have exhibition, as you have seen, and we have the startups who are out there, and there are 21 out of 834 who were selected during our startup challenge. With this, I announce Webit open, and I would like to start the first panel with my friend who is coming here, Marshall Manson from Ogilvy. Marshall. Welcome on stage. Thank you for taking the hard role to be a moderator of the first ever panel at Webit Congress 2013.
Well, thank you.
I hope you enjoyed.
I'm looking forward to it.
We have some really amazing speakers in your panel. And I'm leaving the floor to you to present them and to have the panel started.
Brilliant.
Thank you again.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here. Hi, everybody. How are you? Come on, it's the morning. Everybody's happy to be here, right? We're at a tech conference. There's Twitter. There's things happening. It's fun. Fun? Fun? Hey, all right. So look, we're going to spend the next little while talking about brands and their social footprints. And I think this is a really interesting topic because as I interact with our clients and talk with them about their own social footprints, there's so many questions that come up. What platforms are interesting? What platforms should we be thinking about? How should we engage in those platforms? Who should we talk with? What should we sound like? What are the benefits of engaging in social media? What does that look like? How should we organize ourselves? And of course, the biggest question of all, how do we measure it? Now, we're not going to tackle or conquer all of those things today. We're going to do our best to take on a few of those topics. So a couple of things. The first is I've got my trusty tablet here, and I'm going to keep an eye on the hashtag. So if you've got questions or thoughts, I'll keep an eye on this as we go through a couple of presentations. And then we've got a hunk of time set aside at the end to take your questions, to answer your questions, and to have some discussion, which for me is always the best part of these sorts of conferences. So I'm going to be back with you in a few minutes. We've got a discussion with Roberto from Acer, the conversation later on. But first of all, I want to introduce Brian Cheng from IBM. Brian is the Chief Technical Officer for IBM's Growth Markets Unit. He's held various roles at IBM for a decade, leading sales, technical sales, marketing, and various other things. I'll let him tell you a little bit more about his background, but first, let me welcome Brian. And also, let me ask the rest of our panel to come out and join me on stage.
Welcome. I'm happy to be here. Are you guys happy to be here? This is an awesome place. This is my first time in Turkey. So I have to say this is a wonderful, wonderful place. And it's an awesome, awesome venue. And I'm so excited about being at Webit. This is an amazing place. So if you don't mind, I now live in Singapore. And in Asia, we're a big fan of what are called selfies. Everybody know what a selfie is? Yeah? You can clap, it's fine, it's fine. You can say things, it's good. So what I'm going to do, if you don't mind, is I'm going to take the ultimate selfie just for my own fun here. And I'm going to post that out to Instagram. Just bear with me, guys. I know we're running a little bit late, but here we go. Am I doing this right? Everyone, you can cheer. It's okay. All right. I think I did that right. Sorry, I did it wrong. I'm supposed to press and hold. One more time, one more time. All right, that was rehearsal. That was rehearsal. Let's try that again. All right. Yes. And of course, the panelists. All right, guys. Thank you so much. We're going to post this out now. And as I'm sitting here thinking about some of the really cool things that I've reviewed on the agenda here at Webit, I can't help but think it's a really cool experience visiting the websites for Webbit, downloading this super cool mobile app, and being able to engage and participate in a discussion with the attendees, with the vendors, with the sponsors. And what this made me start to think about was really understanding about some of the different channels that Webbit had to engage in. So if my presentation is going to come up here, I start to think about how Webbit started to look at the mobile channels, the internet channels, and this is exactly what we are talking about with our customers, what you're talking about with your customers. All of these different channels that we need to start to look at to be able to help build a relationship. And as we look at all of these different channels and all of the different customers that come into these different channels, we start to think about one thing: our customer. What is our customer thinking? Where did she buy? What did she buy? What channel did she look at? Did she look at multiple channels? Did she go at our browser, our Facebook site, our Twitter site, these different experiences that she had, right? There's a lot of questions, but the one that I think I really like about this is, were we nice? Were we polite? Were we a good company and a good message? Now, one thing comes to mind as I start to look at these different channels and these various questions. It's about, did we optimize every interaction? Do we have a single client view? So that's what I started to think about, right? And as I think about this, I really start to want to think about how websites are built. And today, as I think about it, and I apologize, I'm going to put my phone down here. Websites today, as we know it, is just one channel. It's not about just managing your website. It's not just about building a new cool app. It's not about pushing out a message to social. Actually, we were just talking about a July 4th message that was tweeted on July 7th in the US about Independence Day. It's not about looking at these as an independent channel. You have to be starting to look at this as a comprehensive digital presence, a comprehensive digital experience. And then we can start to look at really being able to manage all of these various channels as a multi-channel. And as Forrester says, the multi-channel is the new norm. Being able to look and have that same consistent experience across all of these different channels. We, especially here in Turkey and all of these other locations within the growth markets, we are into the Any Challenge. Now, what is the Any Challenge? The Any Challenge is about being able to provide real-time, anytime, any device, anywhere. That's what it's about. Providing that information real-time, anytime, any device, anywhere. Now the thing is, multi-channel, if multi-channel is the new norm, what is going to be the next best thing? How do we reinvent our relationships with our customers? It's not necessarily about providing a consistent experience across all of these different channels. It's about optimizing the relationship, optimizing the experience across these different channels. Understanding that the person looked at an ad on the browser, moved to the mobile device, decided and continued that experience, decided not to buy, went to the storefront, and the guy in the store doesn't actually say, hey, do you want to buy this? Right? Omni-channel is about building a relationship with our customers. Like the old school days when you could walk into a store and the store guy knew you. I grew up in Texas, so I used to go to a barber. It's a guy with clippers. And I used to go to the same barber. He knew my haircut. He knew what I wanted. He knew my name. That is building a relationship. And what we need to be able to do is build that kind of relationship in all of our various channels. So it's building upon multi-channel to provide an omni-channel experience. It's about moving away from thinking like a content manager to becoming a relationship manager. That's what it's about. Now, as I was going through the agenda at Webbit, I saw a lot of things around big data, analytics, content management, campaign management, all of these great stuff, right? I also saw there's a lot of demos that are going to be shown. I think it's wonderful. And as you're going through this, I want you to think about this. Remove the silos of these various technologies. Remove the silos. You can't think about just content management in a silo. You can't just think about analytics in a silo. To really optimize every experience, you need to start to look at having an integrated platform. Being able to drive what's in, what analytics I have and leveraging that across my campaign management, across my experiences in social, across the experience in mobile, all of these different channels. So IBM came up with the idea around exceptional digital experience. And at the core of that is the customer experience suite. Now, you see a lot of things integrated in here. Let me just simplify it. It's about integrated analytics. Integrated analytics with integrated business process management, because you need to have business processes at the end of the day, right? It's about integrated web content management. How do I leverage the analytics to drive the right kind of content, and how do I easily maintain that content? It's about integrated security, especially in the world today where everyone's on their mobile device. Every company is trying to push things out to mobile. I do all of my banking from Singapore in the US on my mobile device. I never actually go to a branch. I can't actually, all right? So integrated security, very, very important. Integrated social, of course, integrated social, given that majority of people now look at Twitter for their news. Integrated collaboration. And the last, but certainly not the least, is integrated mobility. How do I start to bring all of these pieces together to provide an omni-channel experience? So like how we want to optimize every experience, we need to break down those silos from a technology perspective and start to leverage all of this information together to reinvent that relationship. So IBM, as you may or may not know, has been in a lot of these spaces in various aspects. Marketing management, enterprise marketing management, collaboration, portals, all of these things. And of course, instead of listening to what the analysts say, let's think about how we've helped our customers. So let me bring up an example, Wimbledon. Wimbledon is a great example because from a content management perspective, they have many reporters out looking and watching the games, right? They need to be able to upload that information real time from any device, anywhere, so that the websites, the mobile apps are all updated instantly. If I look at City Forward is a way is bringing together data and big data from cities and all of these other places and providing that in a social manner to provide a better experience for cities and governments to come up with smarter decisions. And the last one, I think, which is really neat, is Jyske Bank here, providing a great experience for their customers, not only on the browser, but also on the mobile device. Very, very neat. Now, the last one, which I certainly love, is the Masters. which their goal was to provide a experience that made you feel like you were actually at the Masters. Like you were actually at the Masters. Now, the reason why I think this one is really neat is because yesterday there was a bridge that was closed down. Tiger Woods was here. He was on the same plane as me. I'm just playing, he wasn't. But it was a great experience because he hit a ball from Europe to Asia. Anybody catch that? No one? I can't see you, so you gotta speak up. Yes, you saw it. Was it a slice or a hook? A little bit of a slice. The news report said it was down the middle, man. Down the middle, because the cars were on the right side. But the one thing I missed, by the way, sorry to detract again, but the one thing I missed was whether or not he actually hit the ball from Europe to Asia. Do you know if he did? No, I couldn't make it. I've never crossed the bridge, I don't know. But it could bounce, right? Anyway, I thought it was a great experience, and I thought it was a great experience for me to be here while Tiger was here for the Turkish Open. Anyway, when I look at how we've helped our customers and what customers are doing with the omni-channel approach, it's not about what our analysts say, again. It's about how our customers are starting to win awards. It's about how our customers are gaining that return on investment. So when you start to think in this way, when you start to think about reinventing relationships and moving away from content management into becoming a relationship manager, what you'll start to see is an optimized experience, both for your customers and also for your employees. You gotta start thinking about how I break down those silos. And of course, when you're looking at all of these integrated platforms, it's about that customer experience, it's about the mobility, it's about helping your customers win awards for their experiences with their customers. So I'm just gonna change gears a little bit, because reinventing relationships is not just about customer experience. It's not just about omni-channel. We certainly want to think about turning into relationship managers, certainly. But to be able to do that, you need to start to think about your employees. Your employees are your biggest assets. How do I help my employees help my customers? That's the first question. How do I help my employees help my customers? Your employees are your brand ambassadors, your brand advocates. These are the guys who are out there helping your customers. So my employees are my biggest asset. Now, the thing that I heard earlier from Rosario is within a social enterprise, Rosario, by the way, from Open Knowledge, within a social enterprise, it'll be great if you have all of this technology. It'd be great if you have an integrated platform, that's wonderful. But if your employees are not ready for this, your company is not ready for this. If your employees are not thinking about optimizing every interaction and building relationships with their customers, your company won't be able to do that. So what you gotta start thinking about is how we attract, motivate, and empower our employees to start to think about becoming relationship managers. And what IBM looks at is, putting technology aside, how do we start to help customers look at their employees, look at their culture, look at how they work, and start to bring in the right kind of talent to help the company. So, first part is attract. And I brought this website up because it's our IBM's Facebook site. It's our way of trying to attract the right kind of talent. What do you think IBM wants to put out there as our culture? Anybody? Think? Think about it. No pun intended. It is think. On all of our websites, you'll see the word think. what we want to be known as is an innovation company. What we want to be known as is a company that thinks, right? So IBM's culture is about providing or gaining employees that are thinkers. Now, we've not only done this for ourselves, we've also helped IKEA drive the right kind of culture. What's amazing about IKEA, I don't know if you guys have ever been into multiple IKEAs in various parts of the world. I've been in IKEAs in Europe, I've been in IKEAs in the US, now in Asia. What's interesting about the employees is independent of the culture in the country, the culture in the company is the exact same. Does that make sense? Americans, loud, boisterous, don't know a lot. Asians, very different. Europeans, very different. But when you walk into an IKEA in any part of the world, their employee culture is the same. They're always here to help you. They're always here to direct you to the right place. It's very amazing to see how we can help a company understand their culture and find the right kind of employees to drive their culture. The second part is about motivating employees. How do I drive motivation? And it's not only, again, through technology, it's also about understanding what motivates our employees. So is it gamification? Is it being able to provide them some analytics and some dashboards so they can measure themselves? Is it about giving them a collaborative workspace that allows them to voice their opinion? How do we motivate our employees? This is what you guys start thinking about when we start to reinvent our relationships. And the last one is about empowering your employees. And it's not only about empowering your employees to have the right tools at the right time with the right information. It's about giving them those tools on any device, anytime, anywhere. And not only that, when we're looking at inside the firewall, it's about empowering your employees to have a voice. To have a voice. So with Disney, their employees talk about their company. If you go to the Disney website, you can find what the cast members are saying about how they love working at Disney. These are your brand ambassadors. These are your brand advocates. And with happy employees, you'll have happy customers. Reinvent the relationship, not only with technology, but also empowering your employees to start thinking like relationship managers. So, IBM, what I've been talking about, both technology and these behavioral sciences, IBM is really the only one who has these two merged together. And I think it's very important that we look beyond just technology, because you can have the coolest software in the world, but if you don't have the right people to use it, it's going to die. So, if you want to learn more, we have Connect 2014 coming up, and I want to thank you guys. Let's continue this conversation. Let's have a great conference, right? Great conference? Yes! And thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Brian. That was fantastic. Great way to begin. Sorry, I'm just going to put my microphone back on. It's fallen out of my pocket. So, Brian's given us an interesting overview, I think. And what we're going to do now is start to look at some specific facets of how brands can build out their social footprint and connect effectively. And Christina said on Twitter, it's about people, not customers. I think that's a really good point. It's not just about customers. We need to think about people as human beings, because at the end of the day, the opportunity that social gives us is to have conversations. Have conversations like real human beings. I know that's sort of a crazy thought for some brand marketers. So I'm going to invite Roberto Minardi to join me up here. We're going to kind of have a little wander around the stage. Roberto is the head of global CRM and social media for Acer. I suspect there's some Acer netbooks sitting on people's laps out here. At least I hope there are, Roberto.
Probably.
We're going to talk a little bit about how you bring the voice of the customer into your business. Roberto's got a couple of slides, but I've got a question to start us with.
Sure.
Can you tell us a little bit about why Acer got into social? What are you doing? What are your goals? What's the strategy?
Well,
Small
Marhaba to
question.
everybody, first of all. Yeah, let's say that Acer, until 3 years ago, was a different company. The market was very different. Different devices were brought to the market, and we probably were not ready at the time. We are used to sell 40 million devices a year, and suddenly that was no more the situation. So we started thinking what was wrong, and probably what was wrong was that we were talking to shops, reseller, whatever, but we were not having a relationship with customer. So we decided to start having that, and we slowly built an audience. We slowly started talking to customers, and we are not there yet. I think there's a long way to go, but we started doing that. So we opened channels, and we started engaging with customers on those channels. One of the things we have done, as an example, is making sure we could give a voice to customer on our product, because our product are for customer, for end user. And when somebody needs to buy a product, they want to know whether the product they are thinking to buy is the right product. And so for this reason, we started, as an example, having customer reviews on our sites.
Cool. Challenges have you faced as you've got that program running and started having those conversations? What obstacles have you run into? I suspect this is a question a lot of people out here are really interested in.
The challenges were that, of course, the company was different in the mindset. So just even thinking that somebody could write a review on our website, so touching a digital properties we had, was considered by many a really dangerous thing. And this, of course, was also due to the mentality of people that were used to those huge sales without doing any of these activities. So I think I spent 6 months discussing with our execs and convincing them that people needed to have a voice. I wouldn't number the PowerPoints I have to create and the research I have to show. Let's say that one thing that I found useful was a quote by a marketer that I like a lot. It's called Martin Lindstrom. And basically, he says, in the future, a brand is owned by people, no more by the company that owns the brand. So this is helping to move to the next level. So people need to be part of the discussion or the conversation, because people trust more other people than they trust the brand. If you are on a highway and you see a billboard about Acer, yes, you can see that there is a new product, but how is the product? Only other people can tell you, because they are people like you that had to face a choice. They chose to have that particular machine, and they're using it. So if they're happy, they think that they can be happy as well. So that's the approach.
That's brilliant. And there's a really interesting insight here, which is that I think a lot of brand marketers, especially, when they start thinking about social media, they think about Facebook and Twitter and maybe Instagram and whatever else. But actually, you guys recognize that the way that your customers talk about your product, wherever that's happening, that's the sort of core of socialness, isn't it?
Every single digital channel where people can interact and talk about us is, for us, social. So we are not focusing on channel, we are focusing on how to interact with people wherever they are. That's the approach.
So you got started thinking specifically about customer reviews, because obviously that has massive impact on how people view you, how people view the brand, how people view the products. Did you make a decision to kind of get involved and start engaging with people around those customer reviews, and then what did you decide to do?
Well, of course, having customer reviews in theory is easy. You just put a form on your website and people can just go there and write what they think. But then we start thinking, okay, somebody needs to see whether profanity, bad words, something like that can be put. And also, how can you make sure your people don't prevent reviews to get through and arrive on the website? Because you need to be transparent. The approach is that everybody needs to have a voice. So we went scouting on the market, and we found a brilliant platform out there. So people that give you service and whatever. We chose in the end Revo because simply because they tell you, you will never, as a brand, be able to take down any review. That will be there forever for you, because it's the voice of customer that is arriving to your website. So that's, honestly speaking, apart from the technology, which is important, but great company have great technology, we were more on that for on the philosophical point of view.
Brilliant. And did you see some benefits then from beginning to have these conversations? And both, I think from your, I was about to say customer, from people's perspectives, you know, as you began having these conversations, did you feel like they had benefits? What benefits did you see both for you guys as a brand and for those, I'm sorry, customers?
Now, there are two aspects, of course. People, through in the way we have implemented platform, have been able to interact between each other. So there is an area of the reviews where you can go and ask information about the product to your peers. So when customers leave a review, and only real customer can leave a review because they have registered their product, they can also make themselves available to answer questions by fellow customers. So if a customer has a problem or a question to ask, it's like, is this tablet suitable to go on the beach? Really, you know, is that okay? Can it get ruined? And customer will reply, and we have been seeing a lot of interaction there. And it's one of the areas where people interact, and where also Acer can jump in case there is something to clarify. That's a good point. But people are there in a let's say intermediate space. It's not the brand space, it's their space, even if managed by an intermediate company.
So that's really interesting. So I'm going to ask the question that all the brand marketers out here are worried about. What do you do, and what did you tell your management that you're going to do when the occasional negative review comes in? Because no company's perfect, right?
Right. No. We have plenty of bad reviews, and of course we simply take it. We take it in our bag, and we understand what's happening. We have the information coming from reviews in our situation are put together with the one coming from Facebook, from Twitter, from the conversation happening in the customer care, and everything is put together. And we have basically an official report. That's the only voice that exec receive, and that is basically what it is. Dear management, we are not telling you everything is going well, also because it's not going well, but that's the truth. People are telling this, and in a transparent way, this is the information you get. Otherwise, you cannot react on fake data.
Cool.
That's data.
So that's a nice sort of segue into the next, I think, really interesting area about this, which is, okay, so you've got thousands of customer reviews coming in. You've got really interesting discussions happening. Presumably, you're learning a lot about the people who are participating in this, and also, I think, probably some lessons about your audience more generally. How do you use that information and those insights? How do you sort of leverage those back into the business to make the most of them for sort of looking forward? Yeah,
that was actually, of course, the thing we have to promise to the management when we started doing this. There is a value here. It's not just, going on and speaking on social media like you're like a kid, but this is real gold for us. So the way we used, I have two examples. One example is that we were learning how to improve our customer care, and not only with reviews, but also with other adjustments we have done in our website and in community we created. We created a technical community where people can discuss about the features, discuss about the problem they have. This has been happening in the last year. So this and that, let's say, I think 1 month ago, Laptop Magazine gave Acer a very good mark, which is B+, that considering that customer care is something that people go to when they have a problem is not bad. We are in the group of the 4 or 5 companies, let's say it's second or third. That was a great and visible achievement. The other achievement was in product. We learned from our customer comments that our flagship product, the Aspire S7, which is an ultrabook, could be improved. And basically, by listening what they told us, we get the angle of customer. So you don't have the angle of the designer or the angle of the engineer that, wow, I want to put this Wi-Fi module because it's super cool from the engineering point of view. But people eventually needs to use those machines. And we learned that the power button was placed in a bad position because customers were saying, yeah, when I do, it's not very easy to use the power button, so why don't you move it? And we moved it. The fan is noisy. We changed we make the fan silent, and the layout of the keyboard is different. So we took this customer information, the suggestion, and we changed our product.
I think it's
And
really
this is it.
interesting. There's a really interesting point you raised there. And lots of the companies I work with have this challenge. How do you take customer insights back into product development when the product development horizon might be months or years? And then how do you tell the customers that you've done that? So for example, when somebody says the power switch is in the wrong place and you sort of say, right, we're going to move it, do you go back into the community and say to the customer, we've made a decision to move it in the next model, it's going to, how do you kind of manage those decisions and communicate that back to the community?
So yeah, we are not yet
right, okay.
feeding this back to the community, but surely we got this information, we brought this to our engineering team. And this was brought also directly with under the control of the top execs. Of course, the top execs need to be controlling this.
And how were the engineers? Were the engineers cool?
Engineers are not happy, but
Brilliant. Cool. I think the last big question, so challenges, always to me the most interesting bit. What have you learned from this whole experience since you've kicked all this off and started inviting customers to contribute to your web platforms and your social ecosystem? What have you learned that everybody else out here should know? What are the 2 or 3 things that everybody should benefit from your experience on?
I think the main thing is that it was wrong to be worried. Everybody was worried in the beginning because, it's a giant step. There is no reason to be worried because eventually people will. So that those discussions that are happening maybe in an isolated community somewhere, they will become big. So it's pointless to avoid touching this channel. It's pointless to even avoid to touch the discussion with your exec. Things will come out. So the sooner you start, the better it is. And that's one. And the other part is that the whole process of starting, having customers part of your decision-making process, is a way to help you move away from the silos that you have in the organization. So Brian was talking about the silos in technology. Technology, yes, but I think it's more tough. And I've been a technologist in the past, but it's more tough to take away the silos in your company and make sure you have a common layer and you're talking to your customer as a brand and not as the customer care of Acer, the marketing department of Acer. So that's more tough than integrating the platform. Platform will be integrated eventually with money, with time, but the mindset of people is more important. And this definitely is helping because you have a new component, which are the people that eventually are your customer.
Brilliant. Any final thoughts?
Not really. I'm really scared about the next panel and your question.
Right. Well, thank you very much, Roberto. Great insights. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Brian's given us the overview. Roberto's talked about customer reviews and customer care. I think the next interesting topic that our next speaker is going to get into a little bit is how does social connect with search? Because at the end of the day, search is still the entry point for lots of the people that we want to engage with. That's the entry point for them to come in and connect with us and our brands, right? So how does social benefit search? How does search benefit social? What's the relationship between those two? Glenn Conybeare is the Chief Commercial Officer at Sticky Eyes, and he's going to come up and talk about that now.
Thank you. Dramatic music here, I think. I quite like it. I was going to say good morning. It is still morning. We're running slightly behind. It's nearly good afternoon. If things go well, some slides will appear behind me. If not, I was going to tell some jokes. You've been spared. So I've got 10 minutes. So I'm going to be quick. The question I'm going to try and answer is social the new SEO? Well, I want to start by 3 slides telling you how SEO used to be done. It was incredibly easy, dead easy. Let me tell you how easy it was to rank if you have no idea about search engine optimization, say, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 years ago, maybe less. You need to be able to do this. You need to be able to write some code. And you need to be able to write some code in a way that search engines could interpret. You definitely needed content. Great news was, it didn't have to be any good. It didn't even have to be something that people would want to read. It just needed to be content that was friendly for a search engine. In fact, white text on a white background used to work really, really well. And the third and final thing you needed was a shed load of links. And it didn't matter where they came from. All you needed was lots and lots and lots of links. And the best way to do that was to buy them cheaply. Bad news, if you try and do that, that kind of SEO is dead, completely dead. But is SEO dead? Well, no, SEO isn't dead. It's just tougher. It's just much, much tougher. I got a smile with a picture of the child. I think that's good. So, how do we do SEO now? Well, kind of similar in terminology. Technicals, still very important. You need to get some decent developers who understand how to build a site from an SEO-friendly point of view. Content is very important. However, that content now needs to be highly relevant, highly engaging, and if you just try and write your content for Google, that will get noticed by Google and you will not rank. So trying to over-engineer your content is a bad idea. There's a fine line. Ultimately, write your content for the people that are going to consume the content, not the search engines. And third, but probably the most important, is authority enhancement. And I'm going to explain what I mean by authority enhancement. Best way of describing it is that first point. It's earned, not bought links. Well, what are earned links? And guess what? It's stuff as marketers we've been doing for years before the internet was actually, had any kind of commercial benefit. It's things like PR. It's things like great shareable content. Excellent creative absolutely has a role to play. And most definitely social. Let's answer that question now. Is social important? Does social help you rank? You may have heard of a guy called Matt Cutts. He heads up the web spam team for Google. Some people think he's a demigod, so I put some wings on him here. This is his statement. Yes, social signals are part of our algorithm. I don't think that's very ambiguous. I think it's pretty obvious that absolutely social signals are part of the algorithm. So I've just given you the secret sauce, right? So great news. SEO's easy again, isn't it? But hang on, if it is that easy, how come so many companies are still failing? Well, I'm going to tell you, and you might be a little bit surprised by this. As an agency who does a lot of digital marketing and a heck of a lot of search engine optimization, I'm going to blame an individual. It's this guy, Bob. Bob is my client. Bob's the guy, after I've done all of my hard work and said, right, this is your SEO strategy. This is how we get you to the top of Google and generate a heck of a lot of business for your business for your organization. This is the guy I go to and say, here it is, Bob. And this is what Bob says. I've got your recommendations, but I need a few weeks to get it around the various departments. IT have said they can't do it yet. Or, more often than not, IT has said they won't do it. PR has said, yeah, well, the idea really kind of needs to be channeled through us, or worse than that, well, it needs to then be channeled through our PR agency, and then channeled back through us, and then we can talk about implementing that. Or, of course, I've got to get the social guys involved. So Bob, who's my SEO contact, is failing me, right? There he is, there's the enemy, problem solved. But that's too simple. And plus I've got 5 minutes to go. I don't know that he is the enemy. He's easy to blame, but can he really solve the problems? He's trying. He's running around all those departments. He wants to do what I want to do. He wants success for his organization. He's trying to get all these teams to play together. But trouble is, his title says SEO, and he needs the PR people, and the social people, and the IT people, and. So I don't think it is Bob's fault. But good news, I know who it really is. It's this person's fault. And if you have any doubt as to who this person is, it's your CEO. Let me tell you why I believe that it's the CEO's job to get digital marketing, but certainly SEO right. This is my fictitious CEO's office block. This is where the PR department are, usually near the top. There's the social team. Here's the SEO team. Here's the content team. There's the partnerships team. Here's the brands team. IT is still in the basement, of course. Look at those departments and think about what they do and think about, well, how relevant are they from a search engine optimization perspective? I'll tell you how relevant they are. They're all got a big role to play in search engine optimization. So Bob is running up and down the stairs in the lift every day with bits of paper trying to justify things and failing. The CEO can fix that, and some people are doing it right. Big company in the UK is called Money Supermarket. It's a price comparison site. And here's what they had to say on social and SEO. We have dissolved the SEO and social media teams in their traditional form and remolded them to be more consumer value and campaign centric. Where Money Supermarket has been most successful from its core employees to its board, and I think that last bit's important, is by being very ambitious and progressive in removing organizational barriers. They've changed their organization. So if you need to convince your CEO, show him some numbers, him or her some numbers. And these are some numbers from Money Supermarket. These are some terms, 5 terms, that they want to rank for. The numbers next to them are UK search engine traffic for those terms in a given month. And this is where they rank. They do pretty well. I've done some basic calculations. I might have got it slightly out, I don't know. But I reckon monthly, just from those 5 terms, they're generating about 1.5 million euros of revenue a month. Share that with your CEO, and he or she will start to listen to the idea that actually, to achieve success in SEO, but I think wider than that, digital marketing in general, you need to consider organizational change. So let me just quickly sum up. Nope, afraid not. It's not that easy. Social is not the new SEO. It is definitely part of it, absolutely part of it. But to get it right, you absolutely need to consider organizational change. It will make your life easier. It'll make my life easier as well, because we're all trying to achieve the same things. And so, finally, let's ease up on Bob. It's not really his fault. Blame that guy. And if you are that guy, if you are a CEO in the room, think about organizational change to really, really propel your business forward in the digital age. I've got 1 minute left, and I won't take it up because I think lunch is coming soon. If you'd like to discuss anything I've talked about or anything about digital marketing, I'm Glenn from Sticky Eyes. We have a stand. I'm joined by my colleague Paul. We're here both days. Thank you very much for your time.
I like the music. Thanks, Glenn. That was great. So I'm going to just take a second and sum up a couple of things and then focus on one more specific topic before we have a little discussion. So Brian talked about the overview, the world where we need to be more engaged with our customers. We talked about the idea of engaging our customers, our audiences, in reviews and customer service. We talked about the idea of using your social ecosystem to benefit search and search to benefit the social ecosystem. What about content? How are you going to interact with people? Lots of brands, lots of companies got started with social because of the idea that they could interact with people essentially for free in Facebook. That you would post something and it would be broadcast out to however many of your followers. Facebook's made this much more difficult because now when you post something, it only goes to about 16% of your followers. But actually, that was never a very good model anyway, because that was just taking the old broadcast model of communications and bringing it into social media. The temptation is to do the same in Twitter as well. And the question I think we have to ask ourselves going forward is, how can we actually use social to the purpose that it promised us? The opportunity to engage, to have conversations with people. And I think this is where content becomes really important. and where the shape of your organization, to Glenn's point about blame the CEO, becomes incredibly important. So for me, the key to social success at the moment is about your ability to create, produce, publish content in real time, and then interact with people in real time. And the question is, how do you do that? Well, in my experience, I'll give you an example. I'm lucky to work with a firm that does a lot of work with British Airways. And for them, the question is, how can we interact with people today, both to the benefit of those customers and also to us from a business point of view? So we sit down each morning at 10 o'clock. We look at what's happening today, both in the news and also from the brand's point of view, and what people are talking about. What are people saying to us? What are people saying about us? Then we have a team that goes away and they say, okay, these are going to be the two or three key things that we produce interesting bits of content. We create visual content. We have designers who take photography or use photography to create cool social posters that drive sharing. And at the same time, there are people who are interacting in real time with people who are having issues, who are asking questions. The question for you is, how do you operationalize that? How do you make that possible and achievable in your organization? Well, of course, to Glenn's point, it requires some buy-in from senior management, right? It requires some engagement from people who can make it easier for you to have the resources, time, and also the license to have those interactions. So I think one of the key questions for us going forward is, how do we organize ourselves to do that? And I think the example that Glenn showed about knocking down those silos, about saying, you know what, this isn't about marketing, this isn't about PR, this isn't about digital, this isn't about the search optimization team, this isn't about the media agency or the PR agency. This is about finding the best ideas and putting a system in place that's operable to publish those in real time. So my short message to sum up is, ditch the content calendar. Look for ways that you can create content in real time for your brand. And I think that's tricky for a lot of brands to master. So we're going to talk a little bit more about it on the panel. So we've had some good questions come in via Twitter. I've got one more person to introduce, if that's okay. And that is Dr. Hashim El-Badri, who's the Corporate Communications Director at Sudatel, which is a telecommunications group in the Sudan. Welcome. We're all going to get up, so we're going to move on to the panel bit of the discussion. So we want to take some questions from you guys, and hopefully there's some people circulating. Oh, there's microphones down the front, aren't there? So we want to take your questions. I've got a couple from Twitter for the team. Come on, guys, let's get up and wander around, I think. It's a big stage, lots of space to fill. So if it's okay, I want to start with a question for Hashim, who's joined us, as I said, from the Sudan, because I think from a social point of view, Africa is a really interesting place at the moment. Hashim, what would you advise big international companies who are thinking about Africa, who are going to come in and want to think about their own social footprints there? What should we do to connect with audiences in your part of the world? And then guys, what we'll do is we'll just generalize that and talk about lessons learned from that and how we can apply them elsewhere. Please.
Okay, hello everybody. As the boss said, my name is Hashim El-Badri. I'm from Sudan. I'm very pleased to be with you today and to discuss this very important and vital issue. The social media in Africa, it's very similar to social media in everywhere, but considering that Africa, it has different circumstances, just like the war here and there, the poorness, which covering many areas in Africa, the lack of internet networks, which is not covering most of the African countries. I think we have many challenges in Africa to spread out the social media networks. I'll talk a little bit about Sudan and our experience in Sudan in the terms of social media networks. We have around 10 millions of internet users in Sudan. Most of them they are access the internet through their phones and smartphones. The companies in Sudan, the telecom companies in Sudan, they are working very hardly to gain more customers in their social networks, especially the Facebook. The Facebook is ranking now in Africa as a first stage and with more than 70% of the internet users. In Sudan, we have the similar situation. Most of the internet users, they are using Facebook as a main gateway or channel for the social media. We have many issues in Sudan. Just to let you know that, to know the real picture of the social media in Sudan, we have to know that the challenges are facing Sudanese companies or service providers is how to be close to the customers, how to be close to internet users and social media users. In Sudan, for example, from my company Sudatel, we have now in our Facebook page of the company like 160,000 of likes. And in the last occasion, in the Eid of Muslims, as you know, we are Muslims and we have to celebrate of two Eids. One of them, the last Eid, and we have to clattering sheep. We provided our participants in the Facebook with a gift. Just we drop a question, very simple question, and ask them to answer this question with a big prize. We provide them with a sheep. Just look for the...
Sorry, was that a sheep?
Yes, sheep, yes.
So you're providing them, are you actually providing them with a sheep?
Yes, it's actually a sheep. It's the cost of a sheep.
Right, okay.
If you answer the question, you will have the cost of the sheep.
Okay, sorry, has any brand in here done a sheep giveaway on Facebook before? That's brilliant.
Yeah, and through this way, we thought that we will be very close to our customer. Why? Because they are thinking about this gift all the time of the Eid. So now we're being very close to our customer by dropping some ideas like this. I have many things to say, but...
That's brilliant. Thank you very much. That's fantastic. Good place to begin. So guys, if you've got a question, please come down the front here. There's a microphone this side, a microphone this side. Frankly, I'm much more interested in hearing from you guys than continuing to talk. So come down and throw a question or two at us. And if that doesn't work, I'll start picking on people from the audience. In the meantime, guys, a question for you. Okay, so this is the thing everybody wants to know, right? So we've got Facebook, we've got Twitter. When we think about brand social footprints, are there platforms that you think are up and coming that are particularly interesting? If I'm a brand, if I'm a corporation, if I'm a company thinking about engaging with people in social media, where should I be? What should I be thinking about? Who wants to go first? Glenn.
Thank you. Well, you know what? I think the thing we all need to be focusing on is the thing that we don't know about yet. You know, this world changes too quickly. I could say mobile, you know, yeah, it's important, but actually it's making sure, you know, from an organizational perspective, you have the team around you, not necessarily internally, could be externally, that is completely on the pulse of what's coming next. You've got to be prepared to fail. You've got to be prepared to change, try a lot of things. There's a great YouTube video produced by the Coca-Cola company called Liquid Content. Google YouTube liquid content and you'll find it. And I think that's my message. Actually, don't worry too much about what's there today. Look at what's potentially coming in the future and get ready for it.
Brian, quick one, and then we've got a question over here.
Okay. Hello. Testing. Oh, brilliant.
To Glenn's point earlier in his discussion around breaking down the silos, I think it's not only about the social networks that are externally facing, right? Previously, before Facebook, it was MySpace and Friendster and all of these other ones. I think what we need to start looking at is, in terms of this digital experience, it's also about the inside, right? So things like IBM Connections that allows you to bring these social networks in-house and allowing you to break down the silos between organizations so that you're collaborating better, especially when you have a lot of the millennials coming in, millennials and Generation Ys starting to collaborate and starting to come into the workforce. You got to start thinking about some of these pieces and possibly giving sheep to your employees.
Brilliant. Let's get a question from down here, please, sir. There's no microphone. Right. Can I borrow somebody's microphone? Thank you. Please, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Karim Saikali from ecomlebanon.com. My question goes to Roberto from Acer. How do you actually manage to get your customer testimonials and feedbacks about your products? Like, do you contact them? And if you do you offer an incentive for that? And what is the response rate? Because usually if you send out like 100 emails for customer testimonials, and you have very few people who get back to you on that. So how do you actually do that with your customers?
Yeah, I assume you're saying that testimonial meaning they leave a review in the discussion I had before.
Yeah.
Sorry. Please go on. Okay, so of course. So basically, we invite every single customer that registered their machine to leave a review. So as soon as they register, we send them an email by saying, "Dear customer, we hope you're having a good time with your new Acer product. We would like you to help other customer with everything you think about the product you bought. Go to review." So we are basically just contacting them to suggest them to go to review, and they will basically start the engagement with the review platform. You don't see me anymore. and we have a response rate of 10%. So we have a lot of people that really engage. We are very clear. Your review will never be touched by Acer. This is a third-party company, and your opinion will be evaluated and published on the site. No incentive.
Brilliant. Do we have other questions from out here? Anybody? Well, I've got one from Twitter, which I think is great, and it's a question for Hashim. Hashim, in Sudan and Africa, and guys, let's all take a quick one on this. How do you use social media to build trust with your audiences?
Yes. One of the main issues to build trust to our audience is to talk frankly with them about the problem of the company. One of the main issues that we noticed through the last year, many of the problem in the network has been arised through the social media networks. And one of the main issues that is to open a conversation or direct conversation with our customers, our customers in the social media channels, and told them the real situation of your products and services. So we are trying to do many things regarding to enhance our performance in social networks. Actually, it's all about trust. If the customer trusts you, actually will hear you. If not, then it's waste of time to talk to him through any channels, social channels or any other channels. So the only way, I think, it's to speak frankly with customers through different channels of social networks.
So, brilliant. So let's pick up the trust theme, guys. How do we use social media to build trust?
So, sorry, take a stab. I think that being able to participate in a conversation and being able to be there and be a real person is very, very important. So if you think about large enterprises, let's just take IBM for example, 400,000 people, how do you make that feel more personal? And I think through social media, when you start to see people respond and people start to talk and remove the barriers and become more transparent, you start to build a trust
and you start to have a conversation with everyone out there. And I think that's one way that you can start to really build the trust, is to not just push messages out there, but really start to listen.
Guys?
Yeah, I think it seems really easy, right? You know, why do big brands suffer with this? You know, surely it's easy. It's just about having conversations. We've been having conversations since we, came down from the trees. So why is it difficult now online? Well, the answer to that is because big brands are used to having a monologue. And now, of course, they need to have a dialogue, or even a trialogue, which is a conversation between you and many customers. So I think it's very easy, though. What you need to do, I think everyone knows it. You've got to ask a lot of questions, and you've got to answer a lot of questions. Regardless of some of those questions may seem stupid or benign, you must answer them. And of course, fleet of foot, speed. If I ask a question today and the brand answers 3 days later, too late. I bought something else. Go back to the July the 4th thing. I mean, I was celebrating July the 4th on July the 4th. July the 7th, well, that's nice, but it's not really engaging me. So I think it's all about questions. Answer them quickly and ask a lot of them too.
And how do you guys build trust, and how do you respond quickly? How do you make sure that you're timely and staying on top of things?
I wish I could say all our countries are reacting the same way. Being quite spread all over the world, we have different behaviors. So, as an example, Acer Indonesia won the title of socially devoted company for the IT industry by responding in 26 minutes, in average, to every single question. Then you go to Italy, no answer. So we are trying to make this, so we want to learn even from our example of our single countries, because of course, those are really Acer. So we don't want to learn from others, we want to understand how Acer has to develop his way of engaging with customer. We are really relying a lot on the advocates, because we have a lot of people that in discussion on Facebook or on other channel, they defend Acer, they push the Acer values in front. So that's another point. So you also need to grow your advocates, because those guys will be the guys that then will, when asked, we say, well, what's the best product I can buy? An Acer. Those guys are the result of being constantly growing your engaged fan base.
Yes, I think also one of the main elements that can help you to build trust with your customer is listening. You have to listen more to your customer. More you listen, more you build a strong relationship with your customers. It's not only about pushing news and things about your products, your services. We provide such and such, but it's all about listening to them, listening to their problems, what they are thinking about you. So I think listening also, it's one of the main things that can help companies to build trust with their customers.
Cool. Questions from out here, please. I'm going to start picking people at random. Yes. There's a mic coming to you now, I think.
Hi. My name is Olga, and I'm representing IT outsourcing company. And my question is the following. I'm sorry? Do you think social media works for B2B and B2C company both well, or maybe there are some industries that might use some other channels to communicate with their customers, or social media is good for everyone?
Somebody want to take that first?
Well, yeah, let's say that as an example, as we were mentioning before, channels are there, then you need to target your message depending on who you want to talk to. So people will be present in different channels, and you need to be aware of who they are and what's the language you need to use. So as an example, LinkedIn is something we use for engaging with businesses, because of course they might be our first level customer. We are selling basically to stores, to shop, to chains. So this is one channel that we use in that case. So again, depends on the channel. Maybe in this moment, LinkedIn is the channel for me for B2B. Let's wait, the other comes, but I wouldn't use Facebook for that.
Yeah, so I'll just add to that. From my experience, actually, often the most interesting and powerful opportunities are in a B2B context. It's like we've said before, though, it's about understanding who is it that you want to talk to, and where are they? Where are they assembling? It's not about, I think we fall into the temptation sometimes of trying to get audience members to come to where we want them to be. And we've started creating social media embassies on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever. And just like the website that we had before, we expect people to come to us and interact with us where we want them to. And I think that's a tremendous mistake. We have to understand where it is, especially in a B2B context, we have to understand where it is that the audience is having their conversations, and then get permission to participate there, and then add something of value. So often with B2B, from my experience, the best platform is to engage with them in LinkedIn. But the only way to do that is truly one-to-one. It's to have great content, it's to have great ideas that really add value to a conversation, but then to participate in that conversation. So yes, I think there's big opportunity for B2B, but you have to do it in the right place in the right way. Brian?
Yeah, I think in the B2B space, it's very important. Because you got to be able to build the relationship between the two companies, right? You're working together, but it has to be secure. And when I start to look at social media, social platforms, the things that I see that are very compelling are things like being able to notify, being able to share files, being able to work through some of these things that are traditionally done over email or done face-to-face. But when you start to provide a social community in a secured manner and allow these two companies to collaborate together, then the fundamentals of social media, which is to be able to have a dialogue and have a conversation, becomes even more important. And not only that, but when you look at adding more Bs to your B2B, right? Adding more businesses and more relationships, you need to be able to continue to have that knowledge retained somewhere, right? These processes. So what I'm looking at and what I think about is, how do I start to merge some of these traditional business processes, onboarding a business partner, or onboarding a subsidiary or something along those lines, and make that more of a social business process.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Other questions out here? I guess the natural next question to that, guys, is, okay, what do you do when it goes wrong? So when you have a business problem that creates a tremendous storm online in social media, or you have a problem in social media that creates a tremendous storm, how do you deal with that? How do you react?
I'll take that. One of my colleagues recently did a presentation on 10 social media crises, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And they can be very ugly. But you know, I think it's simple. It's, you know, what we were doing 20 years ago from a PR perspective, it's still the same thing. You know, crisis management, it's still the same thing. It's just the only thing that's changed is the speed. Your thinking time has reduced from, we got some bad press today, let's think about how we're going to respond in tomorrow's newspaper, to, we got some bad press 5 minutes ago, and 3 minutes ago, it kind of went viral, and we're now at the point where it's, you know, global. So you've got to react incredibly quickly. But I think it's just basic, good common sense. You know, react very quickly. And guess what you need to be able to react very quickly? A different kind of organizational structure to the one you possibly got today.
And Glenn, you hit, as we were talking earlier, you also said something along the lines of fast failure, right? It's okay to fail. As long as you have that speed, if you could talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think in today's digital world, it's too easy to say, well, we'd better not do that in case it goes wrong. You know, you've got to be prepared to fail, or else I think you'll get left behind. If you fail, that's okay. Just hold your hand up and say, you know what, we messed up. There's plenty of examples out there of social media that went wrong, and they're very public examples because the brand took too long to fix it. There's many, many more examples of social media campaigns that went wrong, but aren't really in the news because the brand fixed it and fixed it pretty quickly. And generally, it's by going, yeah, look, we're really sorry. We messed up. We shouldn't have done it. We're not going to do it again. And, you know, then it's yesterday's news.
Yeah, but this is probably also in the past ways. You could always say something which was not true, and nothing would explode around that. In this moment, if you respond by saying something not true, that will come back to you as a boomerang, which is something that with social spaces now is happening because people have the voice now.
That's true.
So
it's true.
It's a different approach.
What I've seen some brands do is add a little humor to it, not just a stoic PR response, from the board of directors, but make light of the situation. Make themselves look a bit idiotic, and that actually can then end up going, social itself.
Can every brand do humor, do you think?
IBM is horrible at humor.
You don't say.
Yeah, we try, but...
I don't know. I'd say the vast majority probably can. Your local funeral service parlor probably shouldn't. I'd say the majority can, but there are some obvious candidates that absolutely shouldn't.
I think humor is just one way. The thing that I heard earlier was about compelling content.
Yeah.
And humor is just one way of making compelling content. There's other ways to drive dramatic experiences.
Great. We've got a question over here, please. Oh, there it is.
Hello, my name is Hubert. I'm a social marketer and I'm a celebrity in Tehran called Mr. Taster. I'm going to different restaurants, eating foods and stuff like that. My question is, a couple of months ago, I had lots of people reach on my Facebook. I've got 100,000 fans, but now it's going almost half. And I think it's Facebook doing some pay-per-click stuff. I just got a question, what can I do with it? Because I've got different channels as well, in YouTube, in Instagram, but my problem is with Facebook now, with 100,000 fans, I'm getting like 5,000 people reach for each post.
Yep.
So what should I do with it?
I'll start on that one. This is a good question for Facebook. But one of the things that they've said is that they are now sort of throttling or limiting the amount of reach that you get with each post to around 16% of your community on average, some a little more, some a little less. And the reason for that, I'm not sure Facebook would say it quite this way, but the reason for that is they want to force marketers to use more of their paid products. So given that so many marketers have invested in building Facebook communities, and there is value in those communities, obviously, or we wouldn't have spent all this effort building them, one of the things we need to think more about, to the broader theme about breaking down silos, we need to think about how we break down some of the silos between paid and earned and the content that we generate. So the short answer is, if you want to continue to get large reach out of your Facebook community, you're going to have to begin to have a pool of resources available to you that you can dip into. When you have a piece of content that looks really interesting, really exciting, when you've published it and has a great initial response, can you then put some paid media spend behind that, whether that's in Facebook or elsewhere, to ensure that it gets the biggest possible reach? Now look, that's exactly the way Facebook wants us to behave, but there is benefit in it because we're expanding our reach. The cost of doing so is relatively low, and when we do connect with somebody, when somebody does see the content that we're publishing and wants to interact with us, that of course is amplified to all of their friends and followers as well. So, from my point of view, it's a little bit disappointing that we're now in this space where Facebook is limiting our ability to talk to the communities we've created, but at the same time, it forces us almost to break down some of those silos that we've been talking about and make the paid element of what we do as important as the content generation. Guys, do you guys have thoughts on that as well?
Well, I did, but you already said what I was going to say, unfortunately.
Oh, crap. I should,
I do. Sorry.
Go on.
I think that Facebook is just one place, right? And there were some articles on CNN talking about some of the declines there. I think we really have to start thinking beyond just that one channel. And how do we start to build out from that channel and start to reach in other places and then leverage things like analytics to be able to understand at a broader level what my true reach is, not just from a Facebook perspective, but all of these other places. So it's about starting to leverage some of those other places that your audience are going to and start to leverage some of that even more. Now the trick is, how do you manage all of those different channels?
Cool, we've got a question here in the 4th row.
Thanks a lot. Oturum from Lithuania. I have a client who has, this typical shopping cart with, many products, etc., etc. I really love the point that you made about, adding, the reviews of the customers regarding the products that they had. Which, option would you recommend? Embedding Facebook posts about the products that we, used in social media as below the products themselves in the in the cart, or B, probably asking sending an email to the clients who purchased the product a week after the purchase, to give sort of a feedback how they loved the product or hated it. So which option, or maybe there's another solution?
Let's start, Roberto.
There are many options. I would say that having a place where people can write immediately is not giving you the sense that people use that product. Everybody can go there, no? I mean, there are situations happened recently even in my industry where somebody was fined paying people to write bad reviews. So I think that the only pure, clean way to get reviews is to contact the customer that for sure bought that product and ask him to leave a review. So that's my idea. Because otherwise there is no point that you can prove that the review is right.
I completely agree. You've got to ask for that review once someone's properly had a chance to use it. So, if you're shipping it to them on the Monday, maybe ask them on the Friday. You've got to give them a couple of days. And in terms of, there's lots of third-party solutions out there for reviews. And people often ask me, what should I pick? And my response is perhaps typical of someone who comes from a search background. I say, okay, in your local market, go to your local search engine, type in some big brands, and then the word reviews, and see what comes up. And if it's, Review, as or a Trustpilot, pick the one that seems to be getting the most traction in your local market, and it will vary from market to market.
Right, I think we've got time for one more, if there's one more. Yes.
Hello, my name is Bark, and I'm a pharmacist working as a content specialist in pharmaceutical industry. So my question is about the quality of content. So speaking of content quality, do you believe that having redundant content on different social media networks is a problem in terms of brand quality or reception of the brand value? Thank you.
Somebody else want to start on that?
For sure you want to have, it can be redundant, but it has to be relevant to that particular space. So you don't need to, if you put a circle in a square, it doesn't fit. If the circle fits in the particular channel you want to put it, feel free. The only point is that must fit well in that particular channel. Then you never know where your audience will be. You try to reach them.
Yeah, my question was actually, people usually from small businesses, they tend to paste and copy all the content all over the social media network. So in the future, is it going to be a problem in terms of SEO probably?
Well, it could be. I mean, duplicate content is one of the signals that Google looks at to see whether or not a site is trying to effectively game the algorithm. So what's key is, though, and one of the things that's looked at is where did the content originate from? If you're the origin of that content, then you're generally okay. However, I'd certainly, if you're a big brand and you see lots and lots of companies effectively copying and pasting your content, then get in touch with them, or get the legal department to get in touch with them. I think particularly in the pharma world, because it's dangerous. I mean, if there's content that's redundant because it's the last ACER model, not the current ACER model, it's not going to cause any great problems. If it's drug information, then obviously there's other issues.
It's all original review, but Redundancy was the problem. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any final thoughts, guys?
I have an addition for the question of the gentleman here about the unlike in the Facebook channel. I think one of the issues that can affect the continuity of the customer in the Facebook channel is it's about the content that you provide to them. More the content is relevant to them, more they will stay with you. We noticed that last year we have unlikes, a lot of unlikes in our customer in Facebook channels, and we're starting to give them something related to our business, related to the issues that they are care about. So, and after that we start to keep the customers in the Facebook channel. Also we give them some, you see, competitions like questions and prizes that I mentioned, and so they continue with us without, you see, a major dropping in the number of Facebook channels. So
Great.
It's all about the content.
Brilliant. Thanks very much. Thanks, everybody, and thanks to our panelists. Appreciate the discussion. Enjoyed it very much. Stay tuned. There's a short startup demo that follows on immediately now that I think is going to be really interesting. Thanks, everybody, and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you very much. It was a challenging panel. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, I would love to have this one. Thank you.